Hello everyone, Burb here. It's registration day for Aries Cup, which means it's time for us to start talking about the Taurus Cup. In my opinion, it's a pretty fun CM. This is Champions Meeting 13, and if you're wondering why this video is so early when the Champions Meeting's in like 3 weeks or so, it's because I follow my own anti-frustration plan. This plan basically says that if I have 3 Umas that have a chance of winning the race, I stop making Umas for that CM on registration day 3 days before the actual races for the Champions Meeting starts. Instead, I use this time to build parents and to build possibly aces for the next Champions Meeting. This avoids the situation where I am trying to min-max characters on short notice with limited borrows and getting frustrated when those specific careers just end up failing because I am on thin margins at this point. You can describe this if you do not have 3 passable Umas. That's perfectly fine. I do have an emergency guide that's appearing in the top right corner if you are interested in that. Good luck if that is you. For today, we are going to talk about the Taurus Cup specifically. This is the overview video, which will go over a full track overview, some justifications for stat requirements with the stat requirements themselves, some parent inherits, which I think is the most important thing to get your Excel set for all of your characters and start building parents for the CM, and finally some deck building suggestions and general observations. After this, over the course of the next week or two, I go over the various different roles and give them a very specific guide that goes into the actual skills, what they actually give you. So like the skills and the roles, what are the strengths of each of those roles, as well as where to find those skills on cards, and finally the good characters to run, as well as most of the characters usually to run in each of the positions and what they give you into giving you a chance of winning this Champions Meeting. At the very end, I do like to go and debrief the whole Champions Meeting. The one for Aries Cup is probably coming very soon. Now, this time, I may not do them in this order because I am actually working on all the different role guides at the same time, and they're probably all going to be done by the time I actually go and record them, so I am leaving this one up to chance. Who knows which role is going to be the first one out this time. Let's talk about the Taurus Cup. The Taurus Cup is Tokyo 2400 meters, which means this is a medium racetrack. Your greens for this CM are left-handed standard distance Tokyo race course, firm conditions, sunny days, and spring runners. But notably, this Champions Meeting, if 2400 meter Tokyo sounds a bit familiar, this is the Japanese Derby. I'm going to let you figure out why that is significant for me. But the Japanese Derby is one of the most fun Champions Meeting tracks. In my opinion, we've already done this once for multiple reasons. So this is the track. Pretty simple. We just do a lap plus a little doubling up on the straight itself. But there's various things about this track that are interesting. First of all, it starts up on an uphill immediately, which is very funny because that means that Highlander is just a 1 in 3 chance of being groundwork, and for late surge remains, 1.5 mil CC is a 1 in 3 chance of being a very good Uma stand, which is kind of funny to think about. After that, you have a straight and a corner in the position keep, and this means that there's probably going to be a pretty high chance of being kidnapped because Umastan does work on this map, and there is a corner in the early race. Now, the position keep does end on a straight, which means that Professor of Curvature can proc late, but most likely straight skills will go and get their full value at this point because the position keep's going to end by the time the duration ends. And then we have a second uphill in the mid-race outside of the position keep, which means power is very important on this track, followed by a 250 meter downhill. It's not as big as other downhills that we've had recently. We've been having a lot of 400 meter downhills. This one's only 250 meters, which means we will not get as much of a stamina benefit as before. The important part about this spurt is that it is a very close to a corner 4 map. It's not exactly a corner 4 map, but final corner skills will work and corner skills will both work as well, which means almost a lot of accels actually work in this case as well. Corner 4 is very close, as well as the 777 mark, which is very important for the character Christmas Oguri Cap, which has probably already been ravaging the battlefield on Champions Meeting 12. Champions Meeting 13, she is still a very good character, although I will say she is not as potent and as oppressive. Finally, after corner 4, we have our final straight, in which we have yet another uphill, which again lends more to the credence that power is a very good stat for once. And then finally, we flatten it out and have a very long spurt. This is one of the tracks in which the final spurt is very, very long, which means both two things. Guts is good, as well as end closers and late surges have quite an advantage in final spurt speed, because the final spurt is actually a significant length, whereas previous CMs that wasn't necessarily the case. Let's talk about stats. To start about stats, most important stat, of course, is hitting your stamina requirements. I did it a little bit differently this time just to try something new. I did this empirically, but I simmed it, and then I double-checked it and cross-checked it with the stamina calculator. The numbers are a little bit different, but they're within the realm of possibilities. So at 500 guts is what I started our sim at for 95% survival rate, which is what I think you should be aiming for before thinking about debuffs. Front runners require about 1,000 stamina, and lasers require about 880. Everyone's kind of in between. Pace chasers, of course, are sort of have the little bit of debuff, but somewhere around 1,000 to 900 stamina is about where everyone has their base stamina requirements. If you take a gold recovery, you generally seem like it lowers it by a little bit, about 790 for the fronts, all the way down to 680 for the late surges. And the point of doing this analysis is to basically say that a gold recovery is worth about 220 stamina on this map, and a white recovery is worth about 80 stamina on this map. Conversely, because of the way debuffs work and that they lower your stamina by pretty close to the amount of the actual recoveries, a murmur is going to hit you for about 120 stamina, and a full debuff suite from a nice nature is going to be 300 stamina. Now, stamina debuffs are not good on this map because Christmas Oguri just doesn't care, and Christmas Oguri still is a very, very, very potent character. So by running stamina debuffs, you're kind of fighting against the field, but really not against the Christmas Oguri, which is the one you're most concerned about. So we're at the point where the game kind of gives you enough stamina to survive a lot of these debuffs, as well as also just Christmas Oguri is not going to care anyway, so who really cares? Now, that being said, debuffers are going to appear, so you may want to arbitrage at least a little bit with them. The next thing I want to take a look at is about the guts maxing build. And with the guts maxing build, generally you get around 1,000 guts on a good run, a little bit less if not. And basically from this, the 1,000 stamina that the fronts go, because of spot struggle is not as potent, it goes down to about 900 stamina if you do get 1,000 guts. Pace chaser does go from 960 to 800, and late surge about 880 to 730. In essence, you for the first 250 guts save about 100 stamina, and from 750 to 1,000 save about 50 stamina. Again, I'm trying to go and teach a little bit about how each of these stats actually affect your stamina stat this time. Wit is also kind of fun because Wit does increase your base mid-race speed, like the chance of you getting a really high roll in the mid-race speed category, which will increase your drain rate, but it also means you get into downhill more often. And that means that the math is about every 300 wit past like 600 wit gives you about 40 stamina saved on average, except for over what I calculated at the beginning. The thing is that this is unreliable because you can just simply not hit downhill mode and then you will die, or you can just hit downhill mode when you're at low wit and you will live. So this is sort of just a bonus that I would say is you shouldn't rely on your wit stat for your stamina. It's just a bonus against debuffers and rushed, okay? For the power wit balance, there are 3 uphills on this map, 2 of which your speed does get capped in power. The first one is too early, so it's just your acceleration. Power is very, very important on this map, and I believe that you generally have to hit your power threshold, and then wit is still your luxury stat, but wit usually can be pumped after you hit the base power recommendation that I'm going to recommend here. So for minimum stats, I am fairly confident that at minimum, you try to hit your max speed as much as possible. I think 700 stamina and a gold recovery is going to be your base bare minimum. Now, your first stat that you should increase at this point is either stamina or guts up 100, if not 150. I know this is probably lower than most people, but this is just the bare minimum to survive the race if nothing goes wrong. So 700 plus the gold recovery, 500 guts. Better would be, 800, 600, but we can't always have what we want. And then 900 power, and then at that point, pump your wit as much as possible. Again, all the different considerations in the bottom right here. You can just go and pump this stat as well, just to make yourself immune to murmur or a full debuff swift. What this does is basically it makes it so that your survival rate is purely dependent on your wit check with Swinging Maestro, which is what also makes wit a little bit more important in that case as well. A lot of people are going to basically be close to the stat, but then also have to choose between different stats to pump to 1200. And I think you just get the wit stat and then possibly a little bit more stamina and guts at that point. Some alternatives: if your guts maxing, you probably will have 1000 guts, which means you can lower your stamina to at bare minimum 550. But again, you probably want to do 650 or get 1100 guts, something around there, just to arbitrage yourself a little bit against debuffs and rush. Now, power 900, wit 900, that doesn't change. You're probably going to sacrifice a little wit, but that's about it. If you do not want to do a recovery, you at the bare minimum need 900. 1000 is even better, or like 900 and like 750 guts would work as well. So those are just some alternatives, some things to think about. Try to hit these min stats, try to get a little bit more stamina. It's going to help you out a lot. Inherits for parents. This is a redshift map because it's the final corner map, and redshift is good on every single roll. It is simply based on the lobby composition and based on how well you build your mid race. Okay, if you're able to hit 5th, it is basically just a bonus 0.2 that is slightly delayed, but honestly, it's very, very, very close to the spurt itself. So every single roll is going to want to go and have a Marzensky parent at some point. For front runners, you want Marzensky, and of course this is a corner map, so Saiyan Sky is also very good. And then at that point, set your late race with either TM13 or Fuji Kaseki for the late race speed, because this is a very, very long spurt, so you need something. And then you can grab some more late race or some more mid race on Inherits, but it kind of gets thin at that point. Pace Chasers have a little problem in that, hey, you only have Marzensky, but hey, you have Marzensky, so that plus a possible nimble proc is 0.4, and then at that point you just have so many different late race speed options that you can probably go and contest those front positions after the red shift hits. The good thing about Pace Chasers is that they will be in the running for red shift very, very consistently. So after that, you got Teo Alt, you have all the front runner inherits, and then you have Oguri Cap, Satono Diamond, all the second place ultimates. You also can gamble either through pack gambling with Saiyan Sky and possibly getting some mid race, although there isn't much downhill, so it's not really the greatest thing to do. And you can also think that there's a lot of front runners and possibly try to go and get an El Condor Pasa Fantasy alt as well. For gamblers, late surgers, and end closers, Redshift is still very good. You're trying to get into the 5th place. That's kind of your game plan, is getting into the 5th place, even with the lobby composition, and just trying to, because your late race speed coefficient is going to carry you if you hit your acceleration. So Measure Dober and Marzensky probably are the top 2. You can take Measure Orion as well if you want to go and allow for the 6th position to also be 0.4. And of course, you have all the other accelerations for the gamblers that you have, like on your left as a gambling option. And then finally, you just grab late race speed like Rudolph Alt, like Oguri Cap Alt, Fuji Kaseki. That's etc., etc. And because you're in the back of the pack, you can also gamble with a overtake condition with the Pasa Fantasy Ultimate as well. So those are your inherits. For deck suggestions, I think there's no shame in running Super Creek in this medium. I know it sounds a little weird, but this is basically a 2400 meter medium, which means if there is any debuffers, stamina is still good. And what this allows you to do is you can run some power sparks, you can run some wit sparks, whatever you have, just basically either Super Creek or Rico, or both if you need it, but I think you only need one or the other. Get your stamina up to that threshold, and that is the comfy build, and your free slot probably goes into power at that point. So Super Creek does have some value in this CM. You can run a 2-speed, 2-wit, and then of course your free card would be the stamina card with the power card. If you're free to play, you can run a stamina card, or you can just run Rico. Even our Rico MLB, I believe, has 5% race bonus. It's not the greatest thing in the world, but it is still will get you like fighting for winning the CM. Otherwise, the Guts maxing build is going to be very powerful, I think, because of how long the track is. The problem is that you have to hit your stamina requirements still. You have to probably get about 650 to be 100% consistent. So you just load up on stamina sparks and hope your speed and power get there. So Ayabe Guts is very good for this. Otherwise, you just grab 3 Guts cards, a speed card, and 2 wit cards, and you go from there. Speed and power bonus on your Guts decks. Otherwise, speed, power, wit is probably going to be the main deck most people use just because of its ease of use. You pick your cards that you already have. You have speed cards, power cards, and wit cards. A lot of them are free to play. They give you good skills. That's the advantage of the speed, power, wit deck, but you will probably be lacking in Guts. You may even want to swap out some of these stamina sparks because you do have power cards running for some Guts sparks to get your Guts at least at a passable level to help fight in the very, very long final straight that we have. All right, the big question, do we just lose to Christmas Oguri this time? Christmas Oguri is a very, very good character on this map. It is not as oppressive as last CM because you do not get the speed carry over based on 777. You can still gamble for it, but Christmas Oguri 777 mark will only give 2.8 lengths, where if you remember, it's 5.7 lengths on a 2,000 meters, so 2.8 lengths on a 2,400 basically means it's about 40% as efficient. Now, this will be on top of Redshift. This will be on top of like any other Excel that you have, but it just means that you have to beat her in the late race and get, a bunch of speed skills or just hit harder on acceleration, and it's less oppressive than the current Champions meeting that we're in right now. So, our checklist. In order to go and have a good CM13, I suggest hitting your minimum stats. Again, try to get another 100 stamina. It's going to really help you. 100 stamina or 100 Guts. Get your positional acceleration for almost everyone. It's Marazensky +1. So Marazensky plus Saiyan Sky. Marazensky Redshift plus Measure Odober. Something of the sort like that. Then try to get as much mid-race speed skills as you can. Mid-race speed skills are incredible. Again, 100 stamina or Guts really, really goes a long way over the minimum stats. Then pump your wit because the wit helps the mid game, which helps you not need as many mid-race skills, but you still want to take all the mid-race skills that you can. And then finally, late race speed skills, and then you can get power over the threshold at that point. That is CM13. If there's one thing out of CM13, well, there's a bunch of things, I guess. Early observations for CM13. Fronts and paces do consistently hit Redshift. They just take off one of the 5 positions that Redshift allows for. If a late or an end closer hits 5th, their late race speed coefficient is very powerful. I think they win, but it depends on the final strength at the end of the day. Fronts still have an insurmountable advantage in the mid-race sometimes, but the long spurt means that lates and ends are very real this Champions meeting. No Stopping Me being a corner 4 map is sort of a gamble, but it's not really that bad. So far, it's been like enough to take, but not necessarily seek out, is what my initial thoughts on, but I am still testing No Stopping Me, but it is certainly an acceleration option. Mid-race is very important. It is much more important than even the late race, in my opinion, right now, because getting into 5th place equals excel equals lengths right there. Pretty much any Uma can be built as an XOGURI killer. There's no real advantage Umas have over the other right now because just the wideness of Marazensky alt's position range. So at the very least, even if your Uma can't really build anything else, you just put a Marazensky alt on there, and then their advantages as an Uma, their speed skills are going to go really, really far, basically. Christmas Oguri is still very strong. She will win a lot of matches. It's not going to be as strong as the previous CM, but she will still be a problem. And end closers are going to be very strong as soon as CB Wit actually gets released, because Daring Strike is an incredible mid-race speed skill, possibly one of the best mid-race speed skills in the game. There's one thing: fight for the mid-race in this CM. Try to hit 5th, try to hit Redshift, try to hit Dober alt, stuff like that, and you will find that your success then basically hinges on getting, medium S and, the very, very small late race alts that you get. That's all really that you need at that point if you are playing a backliner. If you're playing a frontliner, obviously, mid-race is good. So mid-race is good because you just got to get that advantage before the backliners catch up to you. So again, this has been the agenda overview. I will release the role guides in days to come. And then finally the debrief when the actual CM is finished. So again, it's scheduled to be the Pace Chaser guide, but it will be whatever guide I decide and get done first on my vacation. This is pre-recorded, so I do appreciate your patience. Remember the anti-frustration plan that I have set out, which is just build a meta Uma to a passable level, build your Oshi or fun unit, and build an Uma to further the account, which basically means any of the parents for this CM, any medium parents that you enjoy, any characters you think you're going to be using as parents for future CMs as well, and then repeat 2 and 3 with the occasional one. I'm going to grab a drink of water, sorry. Now, this CM you can have the option a little bit differently, is that if you have Marzensky, you can decide just build your Marzensky first, because you're going to need Marzensky parents on like practically whoever you want to build, and then go and build your Oshi and then build in Meta Uma, and then by then you should have a good parent for number 2 and 3. So you can flip these 3 around. I just do this just because this kind of works for me. Memberships are available. I do want to shout out the members. This is the overview video. So in the Borb tier, we do say the names. Captain Kiku ZX, Mr. Merritt, Crest of Gautier, Immobility, Sor Sir, Oguri Cap Eats a Burger, Lucifel, Monosataru, Snow Crystals, Hugh, Thundercluck Not Real, and Sage. Appreciate you guys. Appreciate everyone who's joined. It's not required, but as always, it just helps me keep my morale up, if anything else. So I hope you've enjoyed the CM. There we go. Let's leave this one. CM13 guide for Taurus Cup. I'm going to be working on the Pace Chaser guide first, but again, we'll see which one's out. I'm enjoying my vacation at this point, I hope. There's probably a video scheduled tomorrow. So with that, take care, everyone. Good luck in building your Umas. Burb out.